In New York City today, they are still trying to figure out who wanted Joe Colombo dead. Carmine Galante was rubbed out today as he sat in a Brooklyn luncheonette.
3 other men in trench coats and fedora hats surrounded the car, and in close range pumped at least 6 bullets each.
You compared killing someone to swatting a fly.
Simple. Because if I didn't, I couldn't kill him.
For 3 months, I traveled across America to try to understand what life is like in the Mafia. The men I met were major figures, some of whom have never spoken before.
So you put a gun to the back of his head and shot him?
Yeah, it was my hit, and I was going to do the work. I don't like to use the word pride, but at the time, that's what I was thinking. I'm going to take pride in what I do.
Do they come after you?
No. Nobody has. Maybe after they hear this, they might.
It's a life they may leave, but can never entirely escape. Nor can their families avoid the consequences. The first rule of the Mafia is loyalty. Break it, and you pay the price.
Nothing could justify killing somebody in that way as your brother was killed.
Trevor, this is the life. This is the life we chose. This is the life he chose, the path. Your life is not your own. You're property of this entity, this Cosa Nostra that goes back hundreds of years.
I'm about to meet someone typical of those who enforce the Mafia's will on the streets. His name is John Elite. He's also known as the Sheriff, and he's an accomplished killer.
John Edward Elite, de 42 anos, estava no Rio de Janeiro desde dezembro do ano.
This was the day justice caught up with him in Brazil. He'd been on the run for almost 2 years, hiding out in 20 countries. Elite made millions for himself and for the mob. The FBI offered him a deal, his testimony against senior Mafia figures in exchange for a shorter prison sentence. He went down for 10 years. Recently released, he now lives just outside New York, in his son's apartment.
Matt, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Hello.
It's my buddy Steve.
Who are you?
Steve.
Steve, hi.
How you doing?
Friend of the family?
Yep. It's my son Johnny.
Hi, Johnny. Hi.
Nice to meet you.
You own this. This is your house.
Well, rent.
We share it. Yeah, we
You
rent
share.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the boss here.
He's the boss. Yeah. How does it feel to be living with your son?
Oh, I love it. They're like my friends now, so you know we play all day, go work out together. You know, so it's good.
It must be nice to have a relationship where, you know, you live with your son, you get on together.
Yeah, yeah. It really is. After a lot of years, when I look back and they were babies. You know, I missed a lot of growing up, so we're catching up now. So it's nice.
John, what's it like living with your dad?
In the beginning, it was difficult because growing up, I never grew up with the man in the house. So when he first came home, it was a little bit of a butt of heads, and it took me some adjusting and then him some adjusting to be able to live because he wanted to be the authoritative figure, and then I never had anybody really telling me what to do.
How much did you know about your father's life?
I kind of knew, kind of. You know, you have that feeling. You have that feeling where you kind of just know. You could tell your dad is just that guy, you know? But, like, being a young kid, you don't realize to the extent of it. So then when you find out to the extent of it, it's kind of like throws you back, and you're like, whoa.
He did know, but he probably forgets. You know, I'd come to the house with 4 or 5 guys, grab pistols, we'd go take a ride. He was a kid at the time, maybe 7 years old, and he's crying and he's saying, "Daddy, can I come with you?" I says, "Come on, we're taking a quick ride." Instead of coming with us, he ran in the house and he went and grabbed his water pistol. So obviously he did know. Subconsciously, he knew what we were up to. So,
Are you saying there were times when, on your way to execute an order given by the family, by the mob, your son came with you?
he was there on an occasion or two, yeah, by accident. We took a ride. I ran into somebody I was supposed to hurt. I left him in the car. I went out and I shot a guy and I walked back in the car. He heard the gunshots. He goes, "What is that, Daddy?" I said, "Firecrackers, don't worry about it." And we got in the car and ambulances and police cars came, and I used to joke with him. You went on your first hit at 7 years old.
John, do you remember anything of that water pistol story?
No, I don't. But what I do remember is the guys that were around, the money that was around, the cars that were around. Kind of, that's why I think subconsciously that I did know, and I do think I remember.
Did you hear the shot? Did you hear the shot?
I don't remember. I don't remember. I really don't.
Do you ever get accustomed to the life of hurting people?
I would be lying to you if I told you I'm an alcoholic with violence, not with alcohol. So the first thing I think about...
You're addicted to violence?
Yeah, you know...
Or you were?
I was. Now I handle it. I changed myself, and I've proven over the years I've changed myself. And every day is a struggle. I'll lie to you if I say, if you said something wrong to me on the street and I didn't know you, my first thought in my mind is hurt that guy.
And when you talk about hurting people, what are we talking about here?
Whatever it takes. Whether I have to kill that person to put him down, whether I just baseball bat him, whether I punch him in the jaw, the mouth, the nose, but hurt him. Make sure that he's not going to hurt me or my family.
Unlike other members of the Mafia who have cooperated with the government, John Elite has not entered the safe haven of the Witness Protection Program. Instead, he chooses to live out in the open, accepting that one day someone could make him pay for his betrayal. He now works in the construction business and spends time with sons who still live in the shadow of their father's past.
If somebody like you chose the wrong path and got into illegality, somebody could easily say, well, no surprise there.
Yeah,
no surprise, what do you expect?
But then also, though, if you want to be realistic about it, you say somebody to the extent of everything that he's done, why would I try and follow in somebody else's footsteps? I get lost in his shadow. I'll never overcome anything he's ever done or any of his accomplishments or any kind of crime he's committed or anything like that. So what's the point?
Any of the many crimes.
Any of the many crimes, exactly. So what's the point of doing it if I'm just going to get lost in it? And I know if he got in trouble, and he was, for the most part, for a little while, the best at what he did. So if he was, what makes me think I could do it? And what's the point at that?
You said an amazing thing there. He was the best. He was the best at what he did. There's an element of admiration for...
A little bit, yeah, 100%. Did I admire him growing up and see what he did and watch those movies and you say, wow, like I would love to do that? Yeah. But then when you do mature and you do get older, then you think about consequences that come with it.
Elite is reconciled to the fact that his deal with the FBI makes him a marked man. He can do nothing to change that now.
Not bad. Still get a couple.
Do you ever feel totally safe, that nobody's after you, nobody's coming to get you? Is that ever possible for you?
I always think that everybody's possibly, could go after you. That's part of my life since I'm a little kid. Since I'm probably in the street since I'm about 16, 17, I lived that way. So nothing's changed as far as that. I mean, my issue wasn't if 3 guys were over there with a gun. Most guys that know me, if there's 3 guys there with a gun and a knife, I'll go deal with that.
You're not worried if somebody comes after you with a knife and a gun. You feel you can deal with that.
It's like a ball player, it's a professional, he gets up at the plate, he doesn't care who's pitching, he gets up there with confidence. It's the same thing with me. If you tell me a couple guys are waiting for me, I can handle that.
Why would somebody want to put a gun to the back of your head now?
Well, I have more than dozens of victims. I bring that count over 100 people. Guys tell you...
You have been involved in hurting, killing?
Killing, shooting, batting, stabbing, yeah. More than 100 guys. And, guys talk that they did this, they did that. For the most part, they're full of shit. And when you grow up in the street, you know who's fake and who isn't. You know when a guy's boisterous and he's full of shit. And I understand the life. So when you go out and hurt as many people as I did, you know, you're gonna get hurt too. Like I told you, I got hurt a lot of times. I've been stabbed, baseball batted, hit by cars. You know, whether I like it or not, it was my past and it could be my future.
However you cut it, it's a huge burden to carry around with you. Your past.
Without a doubt. I'll use one of my son's friends. These guys are innocent, young kids having a good time. When he goes home, he puts his head on the pillow, he can sleep sound. When I go home, if somebody tells you they're sleeping sound, there's something wrong with them if they were doing what we were doing. You know, when you're involved in what we're involved in, you don't sleep sound. And I don't believe anybody that says they are. I think they're lying. Look. Come here.
For the next 2 years, John must report to his parole officer once a week. He must also stay clear of violence. One other offense will send him back to prison for a long time.
It was almost a year ago that the bloody battle for power began.
Riccobini had been shot several times in the head as he sat in this parked station wagon.
These kinds of scenes have been played out so many times in South Philadelphia, it's like an old gangster movie.
The table for 9 guests, where 50-year-old Steve Boris and 54-year-old Jeanette Currow were shot, was still cluttered with dishes and unconsumed food.
Police say Testa arrived and double-parked his black Chevrolet and then went to his front porch, apparently triggering the bomb when opening his front door.
Philadelphia has seen some of the worst of Mafia violence. But when tensions sparked all-out war in the 1990s, the FBI struck an extraordinary deal with a notorious gangster. This is Ron Previte. The evidence he provided brought down the biggest Mafia figures in the city. I was taken to meet Previte one morning by a member of his crew. A one-time corrupt cop, Previte raked in millions with the mob. But unlike other gangsters I had met, I was puzzled about why he had not spent a single day behind bars. He holds court among friends and associates at this local garage.
Hello.
How are you, sir?
Ron, this is Trevor. Sir Trevor McDonald.
Ron, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Mr. Trevor.
Yeah. How long have you been? Who are these other guys then?
Who are they?
Yeah.
He owns the building.
You own the place?
Yes. He owns the place.
How's trade these days?
Very good.
Are you the boss?
Yes.
How do you tolerate these guys as part of a regular hangout?
I do. I love them come over here.
Yeah.
How long? My friend for a long time. Very long. How many years do you think?
All our lives, you might as well say.
And they don't get in the way of the trade at all?
No, not at all.
You make sure they don't?
Yes, if I need help, they're here to help me.
What was it, do you think, made you such an effective member of the Mafia? Yeah.
Me. Yeah. My own self. I am the Mafia because, not to use that word, but I'm just an entrepreneur. I just know how to make money.
What did you think about the setup in the Mafia? I mean, they had codes, you know, loyalty, silence.
I never thought nothing of it. It's bullshit. The only code is make what you can get. Take what you can get. Who cares about that shit? They're always trying to rob you. You have to protect what you have. And when you're with them people, how do you protect it? What, are you going to sue them? You got to use violence. You got to crack them. You got to put their heads in the goddamn another guy put his head under a hood of a car, and I ripped his skin off and gave him a shave. You know, that's what you have to do.
There's
man.
no loyalty. Like we're outsiders.
No loyalty.
Even though we were with them, there was no loyalty.
When did you decide to cooperate with the FBI?
Well, I always gave them bits and pieces, but eventually it came to the point where they were throwing so much money at me besides what I was making. It seemed like a good deal at the time. I still wish I didn't do it because I'd still be out there doing crime.
You still wish you were out there doing crime?
Sure I do. You can't get rid of that gene. You can't get an operation. and they take it out, of course I do. But I'm not, but well, a little bit. But anyway, the FBI threw so much money at me, and I'm very weak for money.
How much money did you make with that deal with the FBI? How much did they pay you?
Oh, it was over $1 million.
They paid you over $1 million?
Yeah, it's on document. You can get that. That's a document. It's out there. They had to provide it in court, all the money they gave me.
How did the FBI explain the deal with you? What did they want you to do?
They wanted me to wear a wire. They wanted to catch the bad guys who they can't catch without somebody in there. There's no such thing as good police work, investigating. They do it with people on the inside. Most crimes are solved with people on the inside. They wanted me, I was already on the inside. That's what they wanted from me, and that's what I gave them.
How precisely did they put the deal to you? Did they say, we'll pay you to wear a wire, to be an informant, but you can continue doing your criminal activities on the side?
Right. Well, I'll skip ahead a little bit, but when they tell you you can continue doing your criminal activities, you can't do no violence. Yeah, right, okay.
Were you not worried about the fact that the people you were informing on or against would come at you at some stage?
I'm going to be perfectly truthful with you. I don't worry. I don't give a fuck. They know where I'm at. Come on, I'm here. I never worried when I was out there, and I'm not going to worry now.
And what about life now, Ron? I mean, are you still a gangster? Are you still a criminal?
You're always a gangster. You're always a criminal when you're a criminal. All these guys trying to tell you that they're reformed, and I'm going to here to tell you it's bullshit. What are they going to do? Go be a painter? How much are you going to make painting? What are you going to drive, a tow truck? They're not going to make the money driving a truck. They're liars. I still do bookmaking. I do it today.
But that's not legal, surely.
This is a show, isn't it? I'm not under oath, am I?
No.
Okay. But believe me.
Ron, you can say what you like. You can say what you like to us. You know that. It's going to stay just between us.
What's that? I missed that.
He says, you can say what you like. It's just going to stay between us.
It's going to stay between us.
That was good.
That's a good one.
That was a good one, Trevor.
Making deals with gangsters like Ron Previte has been one of the FBI's most effective strategies against the Mafia. Previte's evidence sent 25 of them to prison, including the boss of the Philadelphia mob and a known killer, Ralph Natale. He agreed to see me.
Tell us a little bit, if you know, about who the leading organized crime figures are in and around the area that you grew up in and the area that you operate your business in, if you know.
I don't know who the organized crime figures are.
Did you ask Mr. Allen to get a .22 automatic with a silencer?
I refuse to answer, Senator.
At the time of that Senate hearing in 1982, Ralph Natale stuck to his promise to respect the Mafia's code of silence. He would serve a total of 28 years in prison. This is the first time a former godfather of the Philadelphia mob has ever agreed to a television interview.
Mr. Natale, I'm Trevor McDonald.
My pleasure. How you doing?
Very good to meet you. Thank you for agreeing to see us. Mr. Natale, did becoming a Mafia boss live up to all your expectations?
I think everybody in the world would love to be treated like a god, even for 15 minutes in life. They would almost do anything. Well, I was treated like a god because I made my own way. I did what I wanted to do.
When you were a Mafia boss, you ordered a number of killings.
Positively.
That meant that you had the power of life and death in your own hands. How did you exercise that?
I didn't care about taking a man's life if he wanted to interfere with my life or to attempt to take my life or take what we had on the table, our food, our food meaning our money, our businesses. And that's the only way you enforce things out of two things, either love or fear. Love and getting shot. It's a terrible thing when you know that another man would put a hole right in your head in a minute. It's hard to do with a lot of people. It wasn't for me. It really wasn't.
How did you sleep at night?
Oh, I sleep beautiful. Sometimes I wonder, why don't I feel like people? You know, when you asked me, why don't I feel like somebody? Gee, you killed this guy. You killed the head of the Irish mob. You went right, boom, bing, bang. Why didn't you feel bad for him? He was my friend at one time until I knew what he wanted to do.
You killed your friend?
Yes. Because he wanted to kill me. He was trying to hire a guy to kill me. Simple. I'll take him off the count.
I'm still trying, though, to get at the emotion of somebody who has in his hands that power to kill, that power of life and death.
Well, you know what I'm saying? We had a guy in New Jersey. Some guy didn't show up and do what he was supposed to do, and this and that there. It's for 2 or 3 times. He sent me an envelope with money at the racetrack. One of my men brought it. Here's the money. He said, you know, here's your... I said, what's in there? Money. I said, you bring that back to him. And you tell him I want to see him. I want to talk to him about something. He never showed. And I told this guy, that guy, I want him dead. I want him dead now. Well, 2 or 3 weeks, he still was breathing, laughing, having fun. You know what I told him? 1 week, I'll be up there, I'll kill him. If it ain't done within this week, that's when I'm coming up. Boom! 3 days later, he was dead. They were afraid, my own people, because I was mad.
How did you deal with people who crossed you, betrayed you?
Betrayed me? One man I gave a pass to in my life. The rest of them I killed. Simple.
Did you keep count of the numbers?
No. Because that's when you're sick. You're sick then. Then you're a serial killer. I'm not a serial killer. Why? Because you kill more than one, you're a serial killer. I didn't kill people because I got a thrill out of it. I killed people because that was my life and it was his life. Simple.
If I said the name Ron Previte to you...
Oh, it's a big, big fat rat that owes his life to me. The young man in Philadelphia...
He betrayed you?
Yes. The young man in Philadelphia wanted to kill him. Ron Previte is a bunch of shit. I saved it. I said, don't you touch that man. What do you want to do? Kill everybody? Let's see what happened. And he eventually turned on me. For what reason? I saved his life. And he'll go around saying, David, I saved his life.
I return to the question of how do you sleep at night remembering having those memories?
I get up. I go to the bathroom. I take a pee-shot. You gotta pee. And I go back. And I go to sleep. What am I supposed to do? Say prayers for their souls?
The raids began before dawn, and by the time they ended, 110 alleged members of organized crime had been arrested in 3 states. Street bosses, underbosses, consigliaries, capos, soldiers, and associates with nicknames like Meatball, Vinny Car Wash, and Johnny Bandana.
In the Mafia, there are few certainties. But most of its members know that one day the FBI will find them, whatever they are called.
Underboss, William Willie Fingers Catola, showed up at the grand jury, followed by other Little Lollipop Carna signed in to appear at the grand jury.
Cingolini is the son of imprisoned mobster Joseph Chicky
100
Cingolini.
years for Anthony Tony Ducks Corallo. 100 years for Anthony Fat Tony Salerno.
The penalty was death, and Quack Quack knew it.
I was about to meet someone known as the Yuppie Don, and one of the richest gangsters of all time. His brilliance for inventing new scams netted the Mafia over $1 billion. But when the FBI arrested him, things didn't go quite as expected.
Other prisoners in the custody of U.S. Marshals find themselves in handcuffs and leg irons, watched by armed guards. For $7,000 a week in cash and a promise of millions in restitution later, Francis can live the good life of Beverly Hills. And now some of his former Mafia partners say he has pulled off his best con job ever on the United States government.
Trevor.
Michael.
How are you?
Thank you very much for allowing us in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Come on in.
Franzi's most successful job for the Mafia involved the setting up of a network of companies which sold gasoline across America, then cheated the government out of the sales tax. The authorities promised him leniency if he testified against his bosses. But Francis managed to avoid doing that and now lives comfortably in California.
See, we have the view from up here.
Oh, wow.
And this is kind of my spot here. This is where I do all my work and relax. Got my own TV. And everybody knows when I'm in here, they don't cross that line unless they ask me.
There's an invisible line which they're not allowed to cross.
Not really.
This bit is yours.
This is me.
I mean, what did you actually do in your relationship with the authorities? How did that work out?
I don't think I've ever said this before, but I really led them down a primrose path, making them believe that I would cooperate with them, but never intending to cooperate. And it was, you know, it was kind of a dance that I had to play for a while. And they bought into it because they knew that I could have been a valuable resource for them. I was, you know, I knew a lot of people. And I just played that game and used it until they really put me on the spot and wanted me to testify against a major figure who was also a close friend of mine. And basically I refused. And that's when I was violated on my parole and thrown into the hole, and they were pretty upset with me.
When you were living the mob life, how good was that?
You know, listen, look, I had my own jet plane, I had a helicopter, I had a house in Florida, I had a 7,000 square foot house in New York with a racquetball court and 2 acres of land. I had a house out here in Marina Del Rey, and I did whatever I pleased.
You made staggering amounts of money.
Yes. Yeah, we were, at one point in time, I was pulling in close to $10 million a week.
$10 million a week?
$10 million a week. It was, you know, we were defrauding the government at a tax on every gallon of gasoline, and we were selling 500 million gallons of gas a month at 20, 30, 40 cents a gallon that we were keeping. So it was a staggering amount of money. And, you know, it became a problem at one point that what to do with the money. So when you have that problem, you know you're earning.
What did you do with the money?
You know, Trevor, it's, I mean, some of it we put overseas, some of it was in cash, and I always tell everybody I had a lot of expenses.
Were you always pursued by people who felt that of all this money you made, you must have kept some of it?
Oh, until today, I have people, I mean, nobody would ever believe that I was broke, that I didn't have any money. I could never convince anybody that. It's, people, I think the government still believes that I got money stashed all over the world. I get questioned about it all the time. Guys in my former life, a lot of people believe that they think that's the only reason I'm still alive, because one day they're going to find this money and force me to give it up. Who knows? And people say, oh, Mike, you still have money buried somewhere. And I said, listen, if it's there, I doubt I'll ever get a chance to use it. So what's the difference, you know?
Unlike the other Mafia figures I'd met, Francis has managed to build a successful new life here on America's West Coast. It's a far cry from his early days, growing up on the streets of Brooklyn. He'd been born into a Mafia family, dropped out of medical school after 2 years, and joined the mob. Following in his father's footsteps, he became a member of the Colombo crime family and quickly rose up through the ranks. He was implicated in a vast array of crimes and made it onto the FBI's most wanted board. His life in the Mafia came to an end when he was indicted on 65 counts of tax evasion, racketeering, and grand theft. Michael agreed to show me what he does for a living these days. It's a business venture underpinned by his newfound faith and belief, and one to which he's committed his life.
No one is so bad that they can't be forgiven. Please give a warm harvest welcome to Michael Franzese.
Michael is now a devout Christian. He tours the country as a preacher, charging anything from $5,000 per appearance. He breaks the Mafia's code of silence every time he speaks about his life.
You know, a lot of people call it the Mafia, but here in America, actually, among those that are in it, they don't call it the Mafia at all, do they?
No, and here it's La Cosa Nostra. It means this thing of ours, and it's similar to the Mafia, but if you're in me...
It's hard to believe that Michael Franzese's now very public profile has not attracted the attention of his former colleagues.
What would people in the mob think about the life you now lead?
Well, most of the people are pretty upset about it. I mean, I still till today, I get, every once in a while the FBI will come to me and they'll tell me, Michael, be careful, we're getting word from our informants, you know, your name is coming up a lot again, people are unhappy with you. So, you know, I think they just look at it as a betrayal, and that's it at this point.
If they feel that you've betrayed them, what might their reaction be?
Well, I mean, I've, you know, had a contract all my life. I'll tell you where the blessing is for me. The boss of my family, Persico, who was my boss at the time, was now doing life in prison. He was extremely upset when I walked away, and if he were on the street, I would be in trouble, because I don't believe he would ever rest until I was a dead man. But, you know, he's doing life in prison. His son, who took over the family at some point and had that same kind of feeling towards me, he's doing life in prison. So it's almost like all my enemies are either dead or in prison for the rest of their lives, and it just worked out that way.
Do you understand why people might be very skeptical about somebody who occupied such a senior place in the mob could now profess such a deep Christian faith?
Well, yeah, I understand that, you know, and part of what I tell people, you know, if I was in the audience listening to me, I don't know if I'd believe me either, because it is a pretty fantastic transformation to be where I was and have the mentality that I had back then, and to be transformed into what I believe now. You know, Trevor, when you come to Christ, you don't get a lobotomy. I don't forget anything that I did on the street, and I know I'm capable of doing it again, but I fight hard against those feelings, and that's how it's worked for me.
I may quite understand why you have changed as a person. Why do you feel the need to go around the country publicizing what this faith has done for you?
You know, this wasn't a plan of mine. It just kind of happened. I'm probably the most fortunate, most blessed person that you can point to, because honestly, I should be dead or in prison for the rest of my life. You spend 20 years on the street, you are blessed if you can get out of that and have a transformation. And, you know, and I don't forget that. I remember that almost daily.
Michael's transformation has given him the trappings of a comfortable existence.
She's actually going outside to sign books. How do you want me to take her out?
But his family knows they'll never totally escape the shadow of his former life.
Gotcha.
You could kill somebody, business, and go eat after that. Just as callous as that. That's what Cosa Nostra is. If you have a conscience, you're in trouble.
Guys talk that they did this, they did that. For the most part, they're full of shit. I have more than dozens of victims. I bring that count over 100 people.
In his 25 years in the Mafia, John Elite's life was scarred by violence. He says he's trying to put behind him the memory of those he killed and the many more he hurt. But how does a man, brutalized by what he's done, adjust to a normal life. John is taking me to meet someone who helps him keep out of trouble and stay out of prison.
What do you think your friends in the Mafia would have thought if they knew you were seeing and confiding, to some extent, in a therapist?
Well, a lot of guys in the life are dummies, so, you know, they're morons. They would think you're talking about actual crimes or something because they wouldn't understand how that therapy works, and it's not the case. You're more so talking about your personality and issues that controlling your personality or your thoughts.
You found it useful to see her?
Yeah, very useful. When I was under stress, they would obsess on illness for some reason, and not really what was at hand, which was the violence that was going on in the street. So it was kind of crazy what I was thinking. Instead of worrying about shootings and killings and getting killed and who you killed, I would redirect my thoughts to something ridiculous as a flu, say, and over-exaggerate that. Because I guess I didn't want to deal with, you know, the reality of what was really on my mind.
A couple of times a week, Elite sees his therapist.
You know the drill.
Certainly do.
How did you approach a therapy session with somebody who'd had such an extraordinarily violent life?
The first thing I wanted to know was what his experience was in prison. And when I learned that he had been in isolation for so many years, I knew immediately he'd have to have suffered from post-traumatic stress.
It's strange to hear you talk like that, because I would have thought the first concern of yours would have been not so much his isolation in prison, but what he'd done to get himself there.
Well, I had to learn about his coping skills, because if I'm going to work with him, I have to know how did he deal with the worst, because if he's out here and he wants to go straight, which he's made very clear to me, I need to know, okay, what are your coping skills when something really bad is going to happen that you hate? How are you going to handle that?
Were you always surprised that a person with such a violent past, with such an amazingly horrific past, would come to someone like you?
Absolutely. And I'm amazed that he could even do that, because I really don't know that person. See, I see the heart of John, not the horror. I see what I call the heart of him, not his shadow.
Is it possible for you to say whether John has actually managed to turn his life around?
So far, yes, I can say that so far. But as far as the future, I'm no fortune teller. I don't know what anyone's future will be. I don't know if there's a trigger that he won't be able to hold. So I can't predict, but I can tell you so far, absolutely, yeah.
I have never seen any family of any member of that life that hasn't gone through tremendous challenges and struggles as a result of that person's membership in that life.
At 12 years old, I wanted to be a captain in the Gambino family. That was my goal. Not to be a lawyer, not to be a president of the United States. I wanted to be a captain in the Gambino family because that's what I idolized.
When I go home, if somebody tells you they're sleeping sound, there's something wrong with them if they were doing what we were doing. Those days are done. I ruined that years ago. I can't get that back.
For as long as he could remember, John Elite dreamed of becoming part of the Mafia. His story is typical of many young men who come from neighborhoods like these.
Well, that's where you grew up?
Yeah, right through there. It was all my friends lived on this block in the back on a corner. My childhood friend used to live in this house.
So this is very much your area?
Yeah, this is my area. This This brings back some memories. We ran these streets day and night from little kids as good kids, and we ran them as we got bad too.
What are your reflections, John, when you come back to this place today?
Oh, there's so many memories, good and bad, and I love being here. You just feel like you're back home.
Well, was it always a breeding ground for mafia crime?
Oh yeah, as a kid, everybody in this neighborhood was involved with the streets. So I was educated here more in the mob life and the street life than anything legitimate.
Do you remember the first time you crossed the line into the world of crime?
Depending on what you're talking about. If you're talking about the line of crime of violence, as far as hurting somebody, I was very young. As far as shooting somebody, I was probably about 20 at the time, 19 or 20 or so. Baseball batting, 16, 17, that started.
What was the incident when you shot somebody at the age of 19 or 20?
Retribution for one of my other friends getting shot. So I just went back and shot a guy that shot one of my friends. And, you know, it was every day. It wasn't like anything specific. A guy goes to work every day and he delivers milk. We went to work every day and hurt somebody, shot somebody, or killed somebody. It was nothing. You get used to it after a while. It was nothing but a regular day, routine at work.
I did. It was brother. My eyes are Timmy Jones is here. Really?
Today, John rarely comes back to the streets he once controlled.
We played baseball together when we were kids.
He has no reason to do so, and the risk of reprisals remain. Elite accepts that as the cost of attempting to change his life around. His life of crime afforded him the luxury of millions in his early 20s. Now, at 52, he has to start again. These images conjure up a picture of what life could be for you on the good side, but it also talks about the horror of being in prison and on the run.
I joked about this. No, I never read the small print, because when you read the small print, it's not all what it's cracked up to be. You watch kids out on the street today. They see me, and some of them understand a little bit about the life through family, through friends, and they have a diluted version of it. Or they see me and say, well, geez, he's a nice guy, because they only see me on the surface. They don't see the other side of me when I was killing and hurting people on a regular basis. And they can't really picture it because they weren't there. You wish you could take that kid and tell you, here, watch the other side of me. If you think I'm such a nice guy, and watch me butcher this guy. And then understand, stay away from this life because it's bullshit. So you wish you can teach him. This is a shortcut to hell. You're gonna live a good life, and then you're gonna suffer like no one's ever suffered before. You're in solitary confinement. Guys can't do 3 weeks in solitary confinement. I spent almost a decade locked down, a 23-hour lockup.
But when you came out of a prison like that, did you consciously decide to take another course in life, or did you think, I must be more careful and not get caught?
When I'm sitting in that cell in Brazil and everybody's turning on me and I'm getting word through smuggled phones, and I'm violent myself in that jail to survive, and I'm saying to myself, I still believe in this. Somewhere in my mind, I'm believing in something, and I'm getting phone calls, well, your 2 cousins testified against you, your other cousin testified against you, your 2 business partners testified against you. And you start saying, where is all this loyalty? Obviously, I believed in the Gambino family, which is a joke. Those same guys, I didn't see them giving an envelope to my kid's mother, who's my wife. Where was that envelope for her, for my children to live? When guys are stealing my nightclub money, where's that guy that's supposed to shoot him in the head? Because I'm still in that life. Where are they? They tell me things are too hot, they hang up phones on me, they steal my money. They didn't steal $10, they were stealing millions. And then I started realizing when I came back into the States and I got the full paperwork, how many guys turned on me. And I says, well, this life's over. And I believed in something that didn't exist. And I learned to turn my cheek and go the other way and live like everybody else does, like a normal human being, and enjoy life the right way.
Can you ever leave that life entirely behind you? Can you ever reach a stage where it doesn't in any way impinge on your life now?
No, I don't think you can ever leave it entirely. You know, I can use a doctor's always going to be a doctor when he retires. A ball player's always going to be a ball player when he retires. A gangster's always going to be a gangster. But because I quit doesn't mean the rest of the world quit. And whether I like it or not, that past is going to follow me. I just got to deal with it the correct way now.
For more than 100 years, the Mafia has always succeeded in seducing young men into its service. Tonight in New York City, it's estimated that there are more than 7,000 members, still going about their business.
Somewhere beyond the sea, somewhere waiting for me.
There's a brand new case for DCI Banks Thursday night at 9 here on ITV when a body's found in a ravine. Friday night, final time for the remaining celebrities in brand new Bear Grylls Mission Survive. And a look ahead to Easter Monday and a brand new drama on its way about the use of DNA in forensics. John Sims stars in Code of a Killer. Next tonight, the news.